Welcome back to the UiPath Test Manager course. In the previous video, we created our first project in Test Manager. We also added a requirement and a custom field that we can use across requirements. In this video, we'll configure and use the integration with Jira Server, and we'll get to see several other options available in Test Manager, such as adding documents or linking test cases with requirements. Let's begin. Right now, we are in the project that we created previously, and under requirements, we have several of them created earlier. Let's go ahead and create another one to revisit the process. For example, create long-term loan. We'll add a description and some labels. Then hit save. Next, if we access our newly created requirement, in the Overview tab, we can see the description, as well as the labels. If needed, we can remove existing labels and add new ones. The test cases are going to be listed below, as you'll see a bit later. Alright, now let's go to the Documents tab. Here we can upload documents which are useful for this requirement. For example, the terms and conditions for a long-term loan. Users can download and rename the documents, as well as delete them, if they're no longer needed. Basically, we can upload any type of document here. This one is an image, so we can even preview it from this tab on top of the default options of rename and delete. Finally, in the Details tab, custom fields would appear if they would have been added at the project creation. It's not the case here, so let's continue with other options. The Tasks menu in the upper right side offers several options. We can assign a new test case, we can assign existing test cases, and we're also able to delete requirements. This is exactly what we'll do now. Let's confirm. And our requirement is gone. Now let's get to the integration part. In real business scenarios, companies typically use application lifecycle management tools for software development. In these apps, they typically manage assets, which ideally should be leveraged in the testing phase to avoid duplication and redundant work. It's exactly why UiPath Test Manager is built to integrate with the most common ALM tools. Let's see how such a synchronization can be configured. We'll navigate to Project Settings. Click New Connection and select one of the options here: Azure DevOps, Jira, ServiceNow, Webhook, or X-Ray. Let's go with Jira this time. First, we need to name it. Optionally, we could add a description. Then input the server URL. We'll copy this one from the address bar where our Jira instance is open. The link we need is the part before the first slash. The web URL field is optional and is meant to be used when the Jira REST API is not hosted under the same URL as the web user interface. Then enter the username and password. The last field we need to take care of is project key. We'll also take this one from Jira. Now just click Save. We're done with half the work needed to set up the integration, and this is how it looks like. Let's copy the API key. We will need it for the second half, in which we configure the connection in Jira. The first step is to install the Test Manager app from the Atlassian Marketplace. We can access it from the Settings menu by selecting Manage Apps. We will be taken to this page. Here we need to search for UiPath. In our case, the Install button is not available, because we've installed it a bit earlier, but you'll definitely see it here. Next, let's go to our project in Jira. Before getting to the requirements, let's configure the connection. We'll go to Project Settings, then to the UiPath Test Manager page, which is the last one. Here, we need to add the API key in the server URL. We'll take both from Test Manager, the API key from the connection, and the URL from the address bar. Then we need to select the requirement types we want synchronized between Jira and Test Manager. Let's select Story. The connection is all set. Let's see how it works. Going back to our project in Jira, we can start creating stories. As soon as we do that, we can navigate to Test Manager and see that the story has already been pushed as a requirement. Okay, let's create another one. And once again, it's added in Test Manager. One thing to note is that the push is not only automatic. For example, let's delete one of the requirements that were already synchronized. Now let's go back to Jira and open the story. From the three-dotted menu, we'll simply select Push to Test Manager. And it's done. If we go to Test Manager and refresh, our requirement is here once again. Moreover, if we open the requirement that was pushed from Jira, we can see that it appears as created by an external source. This means that it was not created in Test Manager, but pushed from one of the other tools with which Test Manager is integrated. Alright, let's now assign test cases to our requirement. There are two ways of doing it. The first one is from the requirement. We'll select Assign New Test Case. This will allow us to create a new test case and assign it to the requirement. Let's add the name and description. Then click Create, and our new test case now appears here. The second option is from the Test Cases page. We'll click Add Test Case, add the name, and then the description. This time, our test case has been created in our project, but it wasn't linked to the requirement. That's a step we need to take care of separately. Let's go back to Requirements and open the one we're interested in. And using the upper right side menu, we'll assign test cases, the one we've just created, and the login. Like this. Now the test cases appear on the overview page of the requirement. This concludes our demo on the Jira integration of UiPath Test Manager. See you next time.